My beloved child. There is something happening around you right now that your instincts have already started whispering about, even if your mind has tried to ignore it. Every time you feel watched without seeing eyes, every time a name randomly crosses your thoughts, every time silence feels heavier than noise, it is not coincidence. Someone has been orbiting your presence, studying your pauses, memorizing your patterns, and holding your name in places you will never hear about. This is not admiration from a distance. This is focus. This is fixation shaped quietly, patiently, without drama, without chaos, but with intention so sharp that even time has noticed it. You were never meant to discover this casually. You were meant to feel it first, because obsession always announces itself as a feeling before it ever becomes a fact. And right now, the feeling has reached a point where it can no longer stay hidden. Listen carefully now, because the next truth changes how you understand your past few weeks. That person did not suddenly become obsessed. This began the moment you unknowingly crossed a line in their inner world. A single interaction, a sentence you do not even remember clearly, a version of yourself you showed without trying, that was enough. From that moment, they began replaying you in their mind with unsettling clarity. They noticed how you speak when you are honest, how you fall silent when you care, how you distance yourself when something matters too much. They started comparing everyone else to you and finding everyone else empty. This is why they know more about you than they should. This is why they remember details you forgot. This is why they feel closer to you than logic allows. Obsession grows fastest when it feels personal, and to them, you feel personal in a way that has no replacement. Here is what will surprise you the most. This person is not loud about it. They are not chasing attention. They are not exposing themselves. They are hiding in plain sight, playing normal, acting detached, sometimes even pretending not to care at all. But obsession does not disappear when hidden. It sharpens. It becomes observant. It becomes strategic. They watch how you react to others. They notice when your energy changes. They analyze your timing, your absences, your returns. And every time you pull away, they do not lose interest. They become more focused. Because to an obsessed mind, distance is not rejection. Distance is a challenge. And you, without realizing it, became the one thing their mind refuses to let go of. Now understand this carefully, because this is where most people misunderstand obsession. This is not about control. This is not about possession. This is about significance. To them, you represent something unfinished, something unresolved, something that touched a part of them nothing else ever reached. They do not just want you present. They want to be understood by you. They want your recognition more than your presence. That is why they feel restless. That is why their mood shifts without explanation. That is why your smallest actions carry weight in their world. You became a mirror they cannot stop looking into, even when it scares them. And the more they try to act normal, the deeper this fixation quietly settles. Here is the final truth for this moment, and this is where the tension truly begins. This obsession has reached a turning point. They cannot stay silent much longer. Something is going to slip. A reaction. A message. A moment of vulnerability. A sudden change in behavior. Obsession always demands expression eventually, because holding it becomes heavier than revealing it. And when that moment comes, you will recognize it instantly, because deep down, you already know who this person is. Your intuition has been pointing at them again and again. You just did not want to believe it. Stay aware. Stay observant. Because what is about to unfold next is not random. It is the result of a feeling that has been growing in secret, centered entirely around you. What you are sensing now is not imagination, and it is not emotional confusion. It is awareness slowly waking up. There is a reason your mind keeps circling back to one particular presence, even when nothing obvious has happened. This person has begun leaking their obsession in subtle ways. A delay that feels intentional. A response that carries more weight than words. A silence that feels louder than conversation. These are not accidents. These are cracks. When obsession matures, it stops being invisible and starts bending reality around it. They are struggling to maintain the version of themselves that pretends you do not matter this deeply. And the harder they try, the more visible the strain becomes. You are not chasing this realization. It is coming to you because it can no longer stay contained. There is something else you must understand, because this explains why the energy feels intense yet restrained. This person is fighting themselves. Part of them wants to step forward, to reveal everything, to finally stop carrying this weight alone. Another part of them is terrified of what your reaction might be. Not rejection, but indifference. Obsession fears indifference more than loss. That is why they hesitate. That is why they test the ground instead of jumping in. They drop small signals, watch your response, then retreat again. Each move is calculated, not manipulative, but cautious. They are trying to confirm one thing before they expose themselves completely. Whether you feel something too. Pay attention now, because this is where the revelation sharpens. This person has changed because of you. Not temporarily. Not superficially. Their decisions, their priorities, their emotional patterns have shifted around the idea of you. They measure moments by whether you are part of them or not. They replay conversations searching for hidden meaning. They imagine future scenarios they never allowed themselves to imagine before. You did not ask for this power, but you hold it. And they know it. That is why their behavior feels charged, even when nothing is being said. Obsession does not need constant contact. It survives on imagination, and theirs is filled with you. Here is what makes this once in a lifetime. Obsessions like this do not happen often, because they require timing, emotional openness, and a specific kind of connection that cannot be forced. You arrived in their life when something inside them was already cracked, already searching. You did not create the crack. You filled it with meaning. That is why this bond feels different. Heavier. Deeper. Almost faded. And that is also why this situation cannot remain unresolved. One way or another, the truth will surface. Obsession always moves toward resolution, because the mind demands relief from its own intensity. Now listen closely, because the next phase will reveal everything. The moment is approaching where they will either step forward or pull away completely. There is no middle ground left. And when that shift happens, you will know exactly who has been obsessed with you all along. Not because they confess it loudly, but because their actions will finally align with what your intuition has been screaming quietly. Stay present. Stay calm. What is unfolding is not chaos. It is clarity. And the closer it gets, the more undeniable the connection between you and this hidden obsession becomes. My beloved child. Now the atmosphere around you begins to shift in a way that cannot be reversed. This is the phase where obsession stops being an inner storm and starts shaping outer reality. You may notice their behavior becoming inconsistent, not because they are confused, but because they are reaching their emotional limit. One moment they appear distant, almost cold. The next moment, unusually attentive. This push and pull is not accidental. It is the final resistance before surrender. Their mind has reached a point where hiding costs more energy than revealing. And when obsession reaches this stage, it stops asking for permission. It prepares for exposure. There is a powerful reason why you feel unusually calm yet alert at the same time. Your intuition has already accepted what your logic is still processing. Deep inside, you know this person is emotionally tied to you in a way that goes beyond normal interest. That is why their presence feels heavier than others. That is why their silence affects you differently. You are not responsible for their obsession, but you are central to it. They see you as the one person who could either free them or trap them further in their own thoughts. This is not pressure. This is emotional gravity. And gravity always pulls things into alignment eventually. Here is a truth that very few people ever realize. Obsession reveals itself most clearly through restraint. If this person truly did not care, they would act freely. They would be casual. They would be careless. Instead, they are careful with every word, every action, every decision involving you. They think before responding. They replay moments after they end. They control impulses that want to surface. This level of restraint does not come from indifference. It comes from fear of losing something that already feels priceless. And in their mind, you are not an option. You are a turning point. Something important is about to happen next, and it will feel subtle, but its impact will be permanent. A conversation that feels deeper than usual. A moment of honesty that slips through. A decision that suddenly includes you without explanation. These are not coincidences. These are signals. Obsession does not announce itself with noise. It announces itself with alignment. When their actions start matching the depth you felt but could not name, you will understand everything without a single confession being spoken. This is where your role becomes crucial. Not to react impulsively. Not to retreat out of fear. But to observe with clarity. Because the truth is this. Obsession can transform into something powerful or something painful depending on how it is met. And right now, you are standing at the edge of that transformation. The next moments will reveal not just who is obsessed with you, but why this connection entered your life at all. Stay aware. What comes next is not the end of the mystery. It is the beginning of its meaning. This is the moment where silence starts telling louder stories than words ever could. Something around you has already changed, even if no one has acknowledged it yet. The air between you and this person feels charged, as if an unspoken truth is pressing against the surface, waiting for the smallest crack. They are no longer able to treat you like just another presence in their life. Their attention bends toward you naturally, instinctively, without effort. And when obsession reaches this stage, it begins to shape choices, not emotions. What you are witnessing now is not attraction growing. It is attachment revealing itself. There is a reason their timing feels strangely aligned with yours. They appear when you are thinking of them. They pull back when you begin questioning their importance. This is not coincidence. Obsession creates synchronization. Their inner world has adjusted its rhythm around you, whether they admit it or not. You may notice they remember moments that meant nothing to you but everything to them. You may feel their concern even when they say very little. This is how obsession survives quietly, by staying close without crossing visible lines, by remaining present without demanding anything in return. Understand this carefully, because it explains everything that feels confusing. This person is afraid of the intensity they feel. Not because it is weak, but because it is strong enough to change them. They have already imagined outcomes they never planned for. They have already questioned boundaries they once believed were fixed. You represent uncertainty, but also possibility. That combination is dangerous to a guarded heart. So they hesitate. They pause. They test distance. Yet no matter how far they step back, their focus keeps returning to you. Obsession does not dissolve through avoidance. It deepens. Now the situation approaches its most revealing stage. You will soon notice a moment where they choose you without saying your name. A decision that places you first. A silence where they protect you. A shift where their loyalty becomes visible through action rather than words. This is where obsession stops being hidden and starts becoming undeniable. They may still never say what they feel, but you will see it clearly. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Here is the truth you must hold on to as everything unfolds. This obsession was not meant to overwhelm you. It was meant to reveal something. About them. About you. About the connection that formed without effort and grew without permission. What comes next will not be dramatic. It will be precise. A moment of clarity that settles deep rather than explodes outward. And when that moment arrives, you will finally understand why this presence has felt impossible to ignore from the very beginning. This is where certainty replaces doubt, and confusion gives way to quiet recognition. You are no longer guessing. You are remembering. Every small interaction from the past now rearranges itself into a clear pattern, and suddenly nothing feels random anymore. The pauses. The timing. The emotional weight behind ordinary moments. All of it points in one direction. This person did not drift into obsession. They arrived there step by step, without realizing when the point of no return was crossed. And now, even they can feel it. The awareness has settled in, heavy and undeniable, changing how they see you, how they see themselves, and how they see what is possible. There is a subtle shift happening inside you as well, and it matters more than you think. You are not overwhelmed by this realization. You are grounded by it. Because deep connections do not always arrive with chaos. Sometimes they arrive with clarity so sharp it feels calm. You begin to notice how this person mirrors your emotional state. How they respond not to your words, but to your energy. How they sense your withdrawal before it happens and your openness before it is spoken. This is not coincidence. This is emotional attunement formed through constant inner focus. Obsession trains attention, and their attention has been trained entirely on you. What makes this moment rare is not the obsession itself, but the restraint that surrounds it. They have had countless chances to speak, to reveal, to act impulsively. They chose silence instead. Not because they are unsure, but because they understand the weight of what they feel. They know that once revealed, it cannot be taken back. This level of self-control does not come from weakness. It comes from respect. They care deeply about how this affects you, not just about what it means for them. That is why their actions feel careful, deliberate, and emotionally precise. Now everything narrows to a single truth that cannot be avoided. This connection has reached its natural conclusion point. Not an ending, but a decision. Obsession either transforms into something mutual or it fades through acceptance. There is no longer room for uncertainty. And soon, through action or absence, you will receive the answer. When it happens, it will feel obvious, not shocking. Like something you already knew finally stepping into the light. Your intuition will not question it. It will recognize it. Hold this final understanding with steadiness. You did not create this obsession, but you were the catalyst for its awakening. Whatever unfolds next will not take anything from you. It will give you clarity. And clarity is power. The story that has been building quietly around you is about to reveal its final shape. Stay present. Stay aware. Because the moment you have been sensing from the very beginning is now close enough to touch. There is a stillness settling in now, the kind that arrives just before a truth becomes unavoidable. Nothing feels rushed anymore, because everything has already been decided beneath the surface. You may notice that this person no longer hides their focus as carefully as before. Their attention lingers a second longer. Their reactions feel more honest, less filtered. This is not carelessness. This is acceptance. Obsession reaches a point where resistance fades, and what remains is quiet alignment. They are no longer fighting the feeling. They are learning how to live with it. What is remarkable is how naturally this obsession has woven itself into your reality. It does not feel invasive. It feels intentional. This person has begun to treat your presence as something permanent, something that does not need to be questioned anymore. They include you in their thoughts before you ever enter the room. They measure situations by how they might affect you. They hold back words not out of fear, but out of awareness. This level of consideration does not grow from curiosity. It grows from deep emotional investment that has matured beyond impulse. There is also a shift in how you perceive them, even if you have not consciously acknowledged it. Their energy stands out now. Their absence feels noticeable. Their presence feels grounding. This does not mean you owe them anything. It means your awareness has caught up to the reality that was already forming. Obsession creates a bridge, not by force, but by repetition of thought and feeling. And when one mind walks that bridge long enough, the other eventually senses the footsteps. Soon, a moment will arrive that clarifies everything without confrontation. A choice they make when it would be easier not to. A boundary they respect without being asked. A priority they reveal through action rather than explanation. This is where obsession shows its true nature. Not through intensity, but through consistency. Not through words, but through reliability. You will see it clearly then. Not as something dramatic, but as something deeply intentional. Take this final insight with you as the situation continues to unfold. Obsession, when tempered with awareness, becomes devotion to meaning, not possession. And right now, you are standing in the presence of someone who has allowed you to matter more than their own comfort. What happens next will not confuse you. It will confirm what your intuition has been preparing you to recognize all along. Now comes the phase where patterns stop forming and start locking into place. You may feel as if the situation has slowed down, but this is not delay. This is inevitability. When obsession reaches maturity, it becomes quiet, steady, and almost invisible to everyone except the one it is centered on. That is why this feels personal to you alone. Others may see nothing unusual, while you sense a constant undercurrent pulling your awareness back to the same person. This is no longer curiosity. This is recognition happening at a deeper level than thought. What stands out now is their consistency. Not dramatic gestures. Not sudden confessions. Just presence that does not fluctuate. They show up the same way every time. Their respect does not fade. Their attention does not wander. Obsession, at this stage, stops seeking validation and starts offering stability. They are no longer trying to impress you. They are trying to be understood by you. That shift is subtle, but powerful. It signals that their feelings have settled into something they are willing to carry for as long as it takes. You might notice moments where they protect your emotional space without you asking. They choose restraint where others would choose expression. They hold your trust carefully, even in silence.